All right, summer sailfish out of Fort Pierce, or Stewart, or Sebastian, wherever you want to fish out of. You can make it as easy as you want, or you can make it as difficult as you want. It's kind of become a really big deal in the past 5 years. It was, we always used to catch sails here in the summer. You catch one here, 1, 2, 3, but now it's getting to the numbers where guys are posting 10, 15 bites a day compared to us only getting 6 to 8 bites in the wintertime, where we used to get 15 to 20 bites in the wintertime. We can't figure out why. We don't know why. My biggest thought on this is we don't have bait here in the winter anymore. We used to have sardines that came down the coast, pogies would come down the coast, mullet would come down the coast, and that's what we fished on. I have pictures from 15 years ago of my bottom machine. You'd have a ball of bait, the size of your thumbprint, and 3 or 4 sails, you mark around it. You don't see that anymore. We don't know why, but so that's why I think the sailfish thing is so cool, because it doesn't take a big boat. I mean, there's a kid at the marina this weekend. He's got a 16-foot mullet flatty that he fishes out of, flat bottom. Doesn't even have a bilge pump in it. Caught 3 out of 4 sails. Went out to 50 feet of water and caught 3 out of 4 sails. So I gotta look at my notes. I'm running out of time. But just a little bit about myself and Joey. I'm from Fort Pierce. I was a member of the Sportfishing Club for, 10 or 15 years, 20 years ago. I think I sat as vice president. Somebody got me into that. And then I sat as president. And I worked at White's Tackle back when it was on 2nd Street. And kind of grew up around a lot of great fishermen. Guys like Sandy, Albert Ashley, Billy Yates, Fox Watkins. And I learned to just sit back and be quiet and listen to what they said and try to pick up as much as I could from them. And then I left White's and decided I want to go fishing full time. Went to work for a couple guys, took my first captain's job at the age of, I want to say 24. Worked for that guy for a couple of years, and long story short, didn't work out. Went to work for his fishing effort, didn't work out. Went to work for his company, and just decided that I did not want to do anything other than fishing. So I went back to fishing. It's been gone all over the world, been to some cool places, see some cool stuff, and I run a 62-foot Sportfish boat over the Pelican Yacht Club for an individual, and we got a big schedule. We do a lot of traveling, catch a lot, mainly billfish. As Sandy would always say, if it doesn't fit in a 5-gallon bucket, we don't want to keep it. It's just we're not meat fishermen. But that's my background in fishing. I'll turn it over to Joey for a minute, let him stumble through as fast as I did.
So I'm Joey Mariano. I run a sport fish boat at the Pelican as well. It's a 55-foot Monterey, and I fish on a competitive kingfish team on the Not Scared. It's a 31 contender powered by Yamahas. And I started fishing, I guess, in high school, and fell in love with it. I worked on the Last Mango, the charter boat, down at the city marina for 8 years before I started being a captain running private boats on my own. I do a little bit of every kind of fishing, bill fishing, king fishing, just whatever's biting this time of year. That's it about me.
All right, let's get to the fishing part of it. So the summertime sail bite is it's pretty much everywhere. It's not contained in one specific area. A guy told me one time, if there's enough water to cover their back, there might be one there. And it comes very true. I've caught them in 15 feet of water on the beach, and I've caught them in 4,000 feet of water off the beach. So the areas that I like to target when we go is mainly from the inlet south. The 12A buoy, just north of 12A buoy, 55 to 60 foot of water. There's a lot of good live bottom there, a lot of reef, always holds bait. Then to the south of the 12 buoy, you have the 14 buoy east out to like the 6 mile reef off of Stewart, the 8 mile reef, and then offshore of that, you're in 110 to 120 feet of water, and that fishery is normally on some type of anomaly, like a current edge or a slick edge, scum line, or a bait school. And if anybody has any questions at any time, if they don't know where I'm talking about, please ask, because I'll just rattle on about where I would fish. We normally just look for some sign of life, whether it be bait or current edge, and then if we don't find anything like that, we fall back on structure. They love to live over structure. If you look at the amount of sailfish caught on the reef compared to the amount of sailfish caught out in the deep, I guarantee you, if you fished 50 days a year, you catch more over top of live structure than you will out in the current. They're in there feeding on whatever everything else is feeding. You know, it's the easiest spot to find bait is over top of live bottom. Out in the wide open, it's hit or miss. You might run into, you know, a pack of them, or you might not. With that being said, the baits that we like to use I like to use thread fins, Spanish sardines, cigar minnows, the smaller blue runners. Believe it or not, they love those things. Goggle eyes. If you're drift fishing, I've seen people catch them on pinfish before. They're not real bright. They just swim around and eat. You know, I mean, if you saw the way we catch them in the wintertime, it's you know, we bait and switch them, and they're not super aggressive. So your bait source, and this goes kind of back to what Sandy's talking about with Artificial Reef Program, is very important. It's easy. It's nice to be able to catch your own bait and take it out there and fish and not have to buy it every time you go out. 12A buoy is a great spot to catch bait. The beach, the bridges at night, you can catch, you know, pilchards from time to time. Goggle eyes, you gotta be out there at night. You're gonna be fishing in the middle of the night to catch those. And then your blue runners, you're gonna catch them at 12 or 10 minute reef. You can catch them right at the sea buoy, the last can, right out in front of the inlet. And you basically go out there in a john boat and catch bait. But let me look at my notes real quick. I'm starting to ramble. The club barge, does everybody know where the club barge is? No? Okay. It's the artificial reef site just east of where Capron Shoal, where the old 10A buoy was. It's in about 55 feet of water, I'd say. And there's a bunch of stuff sunken on the bottom. I think Tropicana donated some vats back in the day. They put some big concrete stuff out there. There's FP&L stuff out there. And the club, if I'm correct, put a barge out there at some point. There's like 3 pieces of it. So with that, also, another really good spot, if you don't have some place to start, you know, if you just sit, when you're going sailfishing, all the wrecks southeast of the inlet, and that's on any chart, any Garmin chart plotter, every Garmin chart plotter, it has that big square out there, and it's from, I think they start like 70 feet of water, would be like the Halsey, the Amazon, and then it goes on out to the Mullifin, the Tugs. I mean, there's enough area right there to fish to where you could pretty much fish all day, you know. And there's a lot of current there, it's flushing stuff through. Next, we're gonna talk a little bit about, and this is where Joey's gonna come in, because Joey was my mate for a long time, so I trust him to tackle. How to rig up and what you're gonna use. So, sailfishing, you can kite fish, but everybody's not set up to kite fish. It's, you know, it's a little bit more expensive to get the whole entire, you know, the kite reel, the kite line, the kites, the balloons, everything you need. But you can basically just go out there and go up sea and start just barely bump trolling down sea. Put 4 live baits out. Put 40, 50 pound, you know, fluorocarbon leader, whatever you want, with a good, nice 6/0 circle hook. Bridle the bait on there, and we'll show you how to do all this. Bridle the bait on there and just bump troll. And I've got a teaser that we put out. It's just a Mylar dredge, and it's the silliest looking thing you'll ever see in your life. But when you're barely moving, what we do is we tie a Gatorade jug to the front of it so it won't sink. And it just sits there and it fans in the water the whole time you're barely moving. And they will come up and shove their face in that thing 15 feet off the transom like you wouldn't believe. I mean, it's it's incredible. I'm gonna say they're not super smart. They're not super smart. It opens up to an umbrella rig, and it's. But what I was saying is, just basically just bump troll down sea, or if it's flat calm, you can drift. You can almost just put one motor in gear every once in a while, just enough to keep your line straight. You don't have to. You don't want to troll fast because then your bait's gonna spin. So just keep everything steady, keep your line straight, and they're gonna show up. If they're there, they're gonna show up, and if you don't get a bite, if they're there where they are and they're not where they're not. If you don't get a bite, pick up, run 2 miles, step back out again, look for something. A lot of time, I mean, the best sign of a sailfish is a sailfish. You see a free jumper, run straight to where he was and set out, because if there's one, there's gonna be more. They swim in packs. They're not a single swimming ocean fish. And when you hook one, what we like to do on center consoles, which we don't get to fish on center consoles that much anymore, but as soon as you hook one, have another guy with a spinning rod with the same setup, like 40-pound fluoro, 6/0 circle hook, bridle another bait, and have him ready to cast. Because in the summer, when you catch one, as soon as you get him close, there's gonna be 2, maybe 3 more with him, and you just cast to him. Now you're casting with a spinning rod. That makes it that much more fun. But yeah, that thing just kind of like waves in the tide as you're moving it. It shimmers. It's pretty cool looking, actually.
Where's your Gatorade bottle go?
We tie it. So we got a piece of line that comes off here, and it will just tie it around the top of it. And you can use a float. You can use whatever you want.
Water bottle.
Yeah, we just use
Anything that
a water bottle just to keep it from sinking. Because if it sinks too much, then it doesn't wave as much. It's not as effective. It pulls more
You want
straight.
to kind of
You want it?
theoretically bob and
Yeah.
float away. Kind of.
Yeah, and it's not going to be straight out like this. It's going to be fanning in the top 3 or 4 feet of the water column. And you can use that for any kind of live bait. Catching mahis, king mackerels, everything. I mean, it's just a big teaser is all it is. And that's another great thing. When you're fishing for sails, you're not just sail fishing. I mean, you're catching anything else that's swimming around is going to come up and eat that live bait just as quick as a sailfish will. Now, if you're fishing with mono and you get a wahoo or a king, you're probably going to get clipped off. But we brought a couple rigs, and it's just a piece of titanium wire, and it's got a circle hook, and it's tied tight to where the hook doesn't swing on the wire, and at least that way, if you do get a king bite or a wahoo bite, you still got a shot at catching them. You know, you can hook a pelagic fish with the circle hook just as easy as a J hook. I mean, maybe not as easy, but there you go. And that's a lot of guys down south use that sail fishing on their kites when they're just all around sail fishing, meat fishing. They'll use a piece of wire with that same circle hook, or they'll use a J hook, which I'm not a big fan of J hook because these fish are delicate. They are probably one of the most delicate fish in the sea. It blows my mind the amount of fish that you see pulled out of the water for a picture, and then people put it back in the water, and they think it's swimming around. That's sinking. It's sinking to the bottom. They've got a throat latch that you could basically break just by picking their head up, especially the small ones, and a lot of the fish are small. So that's why I'm a big circle hook guy, because I want to see these things around for a long time.
How long is the wire?
That piece is probably about 6 foot, and that's what we use on like a kite. You can shorten it up if you're slow trolling. Make it a little bit shorter, and maybe put a shot of like fluorocarbon in front of it before your high vis or whatever kind of line you're using. But that might be 7 foot. But yeah, Cadre made this for me today. I was in a hurry.
I mean, theoretically, you can make it any size.
You can make it any length.
I typically do.
A
like
lot of guys just.
arm length. That way, you could cast, on a spinner.
A lot of guys just use, a traditional kingfish rig, and those things are they're deadly for sails. They come up leaking oil. I mean, blood. When they get that treble hook down their throat, it's not good for them. A circle hook, you can break it off, and it's going to come out of their mouth in a couple of days. It's going to be gone. It either falls out, or I don't know if it rusts out, but they go away quick. Another good sign in the summer is you get a lot of oil slick calm days. And off Stewart, it's pretty cool. You'll see these things up there tailing, and does anybody tarpon fish? No? Okay. They're like daisy chaining behind each other, and you'll see 4 or 5 sails up on top, and they put their sails straight up, and you'll just see them cruising on top. And what you want to do is get out in front of them, and that's when you get your spinner, and fire a bait in front of them. Try not to hit them because you're going to spook them, but get it out in front of them 6-8 feet, and if they're hungry, they're going to eat it. And once one eats it, he's going to run off the pack, and the other fish are going to go down, and when you get that fish back close to the boat, they're going to come right back up with them. Every time. Not every time, but a lot of times. That's how these guys, you see these guys in like the smaller boats down Stewart. There's a couple guys on there, and they go out and they crush these things. This moon right now is going to be a really good moon. The next moon will be even better, the July moon. But these guys are catching 10, 12 fish out of 18-foot boats. And they're catching so many because they're catching the trailers. They're hooking one, and then others are going to come up right before they get this one to the boat, and then they're casting to the trailers. So that's pretty much the slow trolling part. Just trying to think. Watch for free jumpers. Don't be afraid to run up on a free jumper. I fished with one of the greatest live bait fishermen I've ever seen in my life, Art Sapp. Runs a boat called Native Sun on Pompano Beach. And we were kite fishing out of Hillsborough Inlet. And we're running along, and we're running 50 miles an hour this way, and all of a sudden he sees a free jumper over here, right off our side, probably 75 yards. He hooks the boat as hard as he can, runs straight to. I've never seen anybody do this before. Because I didn't do a lot of kite fishing when I fished with this guy, and runs straight to him. He's like, pitch a sardine. I pitched a sardine out there, hooked that one. I think Scotty Crippen was with me. We hooked another one. We hooked 3 fish off that one free jumper. It's pretty cool, you know. You can troll around all day and you might not see one, which this time of year you should. I mean, if you're anywhere in the right spot, you should see some fish right now. Let me think. I'm trying to do this off cuff now because my notes are all mixed up.
You got a question?
Sure. Let's go.
What about trolling ballyhoo for 'em in the summertime?
It's tough. You can do it. You'll catch them, but you're not going to catch as many.
Live bait is.
Live bait in the
tough.
summertime is pretty much where it's at.
But somebody that don't live bait fish much and don't have the knowledge,
Yeah, I mean,
just real slow. Well, if you were going to troll
if I was going
ballyhoo.
to troll ballyhoo this time of year, I'd troll about 4.5 knots,
Okay.
5 knots. Slow the game down
Okay.
because those fish are just kind of meandering around. If you find a bait school, troll around it. Put a teaser out like that. You know, you'll have to put a little lead on it if you're trolling.
Yeah.
Maybe put like a little 3 or 4 pound fish lead out in front of it. Pull it off a downrigger, pull it off whatever you want to pull. You can pull off a cleat if you want to. But you can catch them this time of year trolling. It's not the best way to do it.
It's better than no way.
It's better than no way. It's a lot more work than live baiting though. Live baiting's pretty easy. That's why it's so fun because at this time of year because it doesn't. I mean, I've got a 24-foot Pathfinder, and I was going to go Saturday except for I woke up and being the boat captain that I am, my bilge pump was broke. So I ended up spending 3 hours fixing that. So yeah, the big ocean out there. Yes, sir.
When you say bump trolling, what kind of speed is that?
Barely moving, like maybe a mile an hour. If you got a trolling motor, use it. I mean, if you've got an iPilot, put that thing on a heading, whichever way you want to go down the reef, and use that. Go super slow. You want to go as slow as you possibly can to where your bait looks like it does not have a hook in its face, where it's naturally swimming. Yep. It's you can't go too slow.
And do you catch the sardines out at the 12 buoy too?
Yeah, there's been some sardines out there. They're not as prevalent as they used to be, but there's been a
Just
few
the
around.
regular sabiki will catch them?
Yeah, usually like number 6 or number 8, pink or green. You know, the sardines, you want to use the lightest lead you can use without getting tangled up. That's the big problem a lot of people don't know is they try to put like a 2-ounce lead on their sabiki rig. It sinks so fast those things aren't even going to look at it. That's why a lot of times you'll be at the buoy and there'll be 5 boats there, there'll be one guy catching them. It's not because he's that much better fisherman, it's because he just knows how to catch them. Usually it's light lead. You don't want to have a pile of lead on your Sabiki rig. So you want it to fall just as natural as you can make it fall without it getting tangled. And what'll happen is most of the times when the bait's good, they'll start swimming the rig up. As soon as you feel your rod go slack, just start reeling it real slow. It's real slow, and it'll straighten it back out, and they'll follow it up, and they'll keep eating hooks above the ones that are already hooked up. But yeah, the sardines, I haven't bait fished in, well, probably. I just got back from the Bahamas. I was away for a couple months, so I haven't bait fished in a few months. But I did hear that there were some sardines around, and there were some really nice cigar minnows around. Big fat turbos. Those things are really good bait. They're real hardy too. So, and then like I said, the small blue runners, they'll eat them things like candy. You know, something about that big. You know, they'll eat a big one. Those things got a big mouth. They're not a little tiny. They're not like a parrotfish. Good.
The weight range for your Sabiki, when you're saying you want it to sink as slow as possible, what weight range is that? I know it's going to depend on the current, but
Yeah, it just depends on the current and how deep you are. Maybe from an ounce.
Typically an ounce.
An ounce.
For sardines, an ounce usually is pretty good.
Yep. And then like cigar minnows, you can get away with a little bit heavier lead. And a cigar minnow, you want to drop it all the way to the bottom and make the sinker rest on the bottom and don't reel it up. Just sit there and pop it off the bottom so it's like poof in the sand, and you'll catch more cigar minnows that way. Just letting it rest on the bottom and just bouncing it right there. Don't reel it up and jig it, because they're the bedded bait. They're gonna be all the way on the bottom. You're gonna catch the cigar minnows and grunts and all that stuff, and then sardines usually a little bit higher, and they can be all the way to the water column, and then your thread fins, they're gonna be usually the top third of the water column. So yeah, if you pay attention to it, you'll notice that you'll catch those different baits at different depths. Sometimes the sardines will be right on the surface too, and when they are, they're difficult. You almost got to cast across them and almost let it just like, that's when you want to get like a super lightweight and just like kind of let it fall like horizontally over them. So
Talk about bridle and a bait.
yeah, I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
So that's where.
And Christian, also the Sabiki rigs should be fluorocarbon. I mean, those were, is that a big difference between the fluorocarbon and?
I guess probably. When the water's clear, I'm sure they are. I mean, anything helps. Yeah, what's this?
I have a question.
Sure.
Big release person you are, catching so many. Do you ever cut the hook and, cut the line, the leader, let the hook rust out
Mhm.
versus
99% of the time, I cut the leader as close to the hook as I can and leave the hook in them.
because it doesn't,
I don't want to handle them. I don't want to grab
handle
them.
don't tire them
You
out?
grab them, the first thing they start doing is just back and forth, back and forth. And if
Exactly.
you watch, every time they go back and forth, you're leaning over the side of your boat, they're hitting on the side of the boat, they just try to be as gentle as they can. Especially in the wintertime, we're trying to catch them as fast as we can because we're tournament fishing, because we're dead bait fishing, and we'll cut it as soon as we get to the leader. You take a wrap on the leader and cut it just anywhere under the
Cut
swivel.
it, let it go.
It may have that much line on it, and I know it's not great for the environment, but I think it's better for the fish. You see these guys, they're big honchos, they grab them, they yank on them, and try to break the leader. They're not doing anything except
No.
except
If you
killing fish.
break their bill, I didn't break it, he broke it
He'll live.
himself in the dive platform.
Mhm.
I would say about 5 inches, it grows back, does it not?
I don't know if it grows back, but it does. They live. I've seen them with no bill.
I caught a sailfish last Saturday with,
Stubby.
there was basically no bill,
Yeah.
and he was very healthy.
Yeah.
Man, I saw this guy, he whacked the dive platform.
If I was a sailfish, I wouldn't even want a bill. Just gets in the way when you're trying to eat.
So we got a tournament, a tournament coming up.
Uh-huh.
I've never caught one to where, well, I was with somebody that caught one, my wife actually. But as soon as they got it next to the boat, released it right away. For this tournament, so to speak, how do we measure and?
You don't have to. You just have to take a picture.
Just, right by the boat?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. If
They
it's,
ain't gotta be by the boat.
yeah, it can be away from the boat. I don't know what the rules are. Is it a 15-foot? It
Take a
just,
picture.
just catch it.
These the rules.
You letting that guy run the rules.
So I can
That's some
take a
shady,
picture of
there's
your fish.
some
with
shady
a
stuff
photo
going on.
of you.
You can sleep at night, you know, it's great.
Yeah, just follow the best guy around all day long.
Yeah, there you go, that's what I was thinking.
All right. You want to show him a bridle?
Yeah. Let me get that.
Here you go. If you're using a circle hook, you're going to bridle the bait on. If you're using a J hook, you're just going to hook him through the face. So he's going to show you how to bridle one for slow trolling, and he's going to show you how to bridle one for kite.
With like sailfish tournaments, it's a 15-foot leader till you catch the fish. So once you get that 15 feet, it's a caught fish. So that's why this is a kite rig. That's why it's 15 foot long. So once we touch, anywhere on this leader, it's a caught fish.
It's a caught fish. It's an official release.
So it's kind of hard to see, but so these little tiny rubber bands, basically, I like to stretch them out. You just have a little rigging needle. It's got an open end. I just take it, kind of clip it in there. Usually I'll put it on the hook first. And then like if you're slow trolling, you'll go like through the nose of the bait. You kind of see like the nostrils. So I'll take it through there. Not as easy. Then once I get the rubber band in that through, I'll wrap it back around and put it, I can't see. Put it through the end. Oh my gosh, I can't see.
Like back over the hook.
Yeah, back over the hook. So now you basically have it, both ends. And you'll take it and twist it 3 or 4 times. So now it's kind of tight there. And I'll take it back, right back through it. And now it's bridled. So this way the bait, through their nose, it can swim. It has kind of natural movement of what it wants to do. Yeah, and like with the circle hook, 95% of the time, it's getting hooked in the corner of the mouth. The way the circle hook's invented, it's gonna just come and get them. And that's for slow trolling. So right through the nose, natural movement.
So the hook's not embedded in the bait whatsoever?
No.
No. So all it is just the little clear rigging band. Keeps the bait healthier, last longer.
Is the barb facing up or down? Does it matter?
I mean,
I don't think it really matters.
I guess
it's gonna
it's
twist
gonna
around.
move, but for the most part, it is. It's gonna be kind of like that. If that makes sense. But it will. The bait's gonna be fluttering, moving, so it's gonna have a little wiggle room.
The theory of a circle hook is the fish is going to eat the bait. The fish is going to swallow the bait. It's going to go down his throat. And then you're going to drop, you're going to have your reel and free spool. You're going to give them a 3-second count, 4-second count, and then you're going to push your drag up slow. As you're pushing that drag up slow, what you're doing is you're pulling that bait back out of his throat. And when he comes out of his throat, by that time, he has already turned direction. He's not swimming at you anymore. So when he makes that turn, whether it's 90 degrees, 180 degrees, whatever it may be, that bait is coming back out of his throat, and the first thing he's going to find is the corner of his mouth. And that's what hooks him. There's no hook set. There's no throat hooking. I mean, every once in a while, you might get one that gets hooked in the throat with a circle hook, but if it's done right, 99% of the time, he's going to be hooked in the corner of the mouth. Every once in a while, you get one that's hooked in the bill, like in the roof of their mouth, and that's when a lot of people see a circle hook come back straight out. They're like, well, how did I circle hook straight out? Well, it's because they're hooked in the top of their mouth, and it's bone there, and there was no give, and the whole time he's pulling against that bend of the hook. But like I said, that to me is the safest way to make sure these fish live is with a circle hook. You want to show them how to do a kite bait real
So for a
quick?
kite bait, your kite's up top, your bait's down low. So hooking it through the nose, it kind of, to me, it doesn't look natural. You take it and kind of, I call it the shoulder, of the bait, kind of typically half an inch down from the top, in between the top of the bait and the backbone. You think of that?
Yeah, you want to be in the meaty part, not in their spine.
And pretty much same exact concept. You just run it through. Same as well, you just take that hook, run it back through it. And same thing as before, couple turns, right back through. And now, as your bait's, dangling like this, he's just flutter on top. With the kite, you don't want your bait all the way in, you want him up top, wiggling, look like he's, hurt, just kind of struggling for his life.
He'll generally swim in a circle, won't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's also another reason with the 15-foot leader, it presents a more natural look. If you had it right here, he's only got this little area. With the long leader, he's able to swim, a big circle, figure eights, whatever he may do.
And without it being bridled, if you try to do it with the hook and the actual fish itself, it kind of defeats the way a circle hook works, because now it's getting in the way of the bite. It's putting something in between the hook and the jaw. So when it's coming back out of the hatch, coming back out of his throat, and goes to get into the corner of his mouth, if there's anything in there impeding between the hook and his jaw, it might roll right over. It won't. If you take a circle hook, if I had a bucket, I'd show you, and you drop a circle hook, if I put it right here, and you put a circle hook in a bucket, and I stand right here and I pull it like this, it's gonna hook the edge of that bucket. When it's coming back out, it's gonna find that spot, and it's gonna hook on that edge of that bucket. And that's basically the easiest way to explain how they work.
Those
Yeah, but-
straight circle hooks or are they off the offset?
No, they're straight.
Straight.
If you do offset, you might as well just use a J hook,
Oh.
because it's gonna hook them in the gut.
And the bridling
Yeah.
helps the bait not to fall
Yeah,
off.
bottom fishing, an offset circle hook. Most people offset their circle hooks for bottom fishing, just a little bit, just because you get a little bit better hookup ratio in deep water. But that's a whole nother program. But yeah, and I'm not saying you have to be IGFA legal by any means, but to be IGFA legal, a circle hook cannot be offset at all. You can't twist it at all. Even I know like the long line boats, they're only allowed to offset their circle hooks the slightest amount to like the tuna fishermen and stuff. They have parameters of how much they can even offset a circle hook, because they do have so much billfish bycatch. So
Question.
yeah,
Where you got that hook, the hook is facing forward.
uh-huh.
What I call forward, the barb and the point's
Yes,
forward.
sir.
Does it matter if it's forward or backward?
I would
No,
rather
no,
have
it's-
it, I would rather have it forward. That's just me though.
I mean,
And it's
Does it does it make a difference? I mean, have you,
I can't really say that.
I don't.
I think I always put mine
The-
forward.
okay.
Yeah,
What about you,
the
Joe?
hook is going to move a little bit. It is.
Yeah, I
an
understand
elastic
that. I
band.
just, predominantly, it's facing towards, the point is
Yeah.
facing towards the head
Yeah.
versus going from the head back to the dorsal fin. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, oh no.
That doesn't,
Yeah.
you
If
find
you-
it better that way.
Yes.
Yeah, if you twist it and you go from the back of the fish to the front of the fish, it's gonna stay that way most of the time. Cause the pressure from the rubber band is gonna hold it in that direction. Now, it might turn a little bit side to side, but it's normally
Well,
not
I'm
gonna-
saying if you enter it from the other way,
Yeah.
the point would predominantly be to the back.
To the back, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't wanna do that, go forward.
Okay.
Yeah,
And bridling helps your bait stay on.
yeah,
If you just hook a bait, through the nose, it wallers a hole. It's going to just fall out. With the
Yeah.
rubber band, it does fall off time to time, but it'll last
you might get that second
way
bite
longer.
that
Okay.
you weren't gonna get
Yeah.
when your bait falls off. Yes, sir.
Kind of hooks to, ensure good release, like brass, or you're
steel?
No, you're just using a regular metal, I guess it's,
For
using
rustling.
mustache or eagle claw, regular steel hook.
Okay.
Yeah. I like to use the trocar. That's my favorite circle hook. It's got a welded eye on it. It's super sharp. Like they'll put one in you before you get done with the day.
Salt water, I imagine.
I'm sorry.
They dissolve well in the salt water.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
And if you want to save your hooks, like if you make your leaders and at the end of the day rinse them off with salt water and throw them in the freezer, they won't rust.
Salt water or fresh water?
Fresh water. Rinse them with fresh water and put them in the freezer. Put your leaders in the freezer. If you're going to fish the next weekend, you can reuse that hook if you're really that worried about it. You guys want to see a little bit about the kite fishing, or do you guys want to ask a bunch of questions, or?
Can you pass that around? Is
Sure.
that
Yep.
You-
What size hook is that?
That's a
6-0.
6-0.
This is a 6-0 on 40-pound line. This time of year, with the water being, clean and nice, kind of goes smaller.
Yeah, in the winter time we use anywhere from 40 to 60 pound, and summertime we use 30 to 50. But mainly, the guys in Stewart are using like 30, a lot of them.
Let me ask you, does water temp really make a
In the
difference?
summer, I mean, as long as it's not super hot, I mean, I can't, because the water's so similar in the summertime, I would say, that I haven't really, if you find an edge, current edge with a temperature change, that's definitely a good spot to be. Anywhere you find a change, maybe even if it's a half a degree,
Cause we were at Push Button last year, and that water was 90 degrees on the surface.
Yeah.
And we just put baits down 25 feet or so, and sailfish. I was amazed that I'd catch anything.
Well, what it probably was is you probably had 90-degree water on top,
Yeah.
and you probably had a thermocline on your machine. If you look, you probably had a line, and you probably had you had bedded cooler water underneath it, and that's where they were probably laying.
Okay.
That's where any type of fish is going to do that, especially in the summertime. They'll, if you turn your gain up on your bottom machines, you'll mark that thermocline, wherever it may be. And normally, when you do that, when you mark it, you'll start seeing any type of life on your machine underneath that line. And believe it or not, when you mark a sailfish on your bottom machine, they kind of look like a sailfish. They're a bigger boomerang. I've seen some of them that look just like sailfish, like almost like that. Almost like you're marking their fin on their back. It's pretty neat. But any more questions? Come on, you got something. Yes, sir.
Is the summertime sailfishing any good in August to like early?
It starts ending around August, September. August can be good. September, I think, is pretty much wrapping up. And that's the kind of the thing we don't understand, where these fish are coming from and where they're going. Nobody has a reason or a rhyme why this body of fish has come here every summer for the past 5 years. Because it wasn't like this, 10 years ago. So we don't know if they're going back north, if they're coming in from offshore. There hasn't been enough money put out there for satellite tagging for sailfish. Because it's about $5,000 to satellite tag a fish per fish, and they're doing it for blue marlins, and it's unbelievable what they're finding out. These fish are going from the Bahamas to Nantucket back to Africa in 280 days. I've got some videos of how, like, a buddy of mine tagged one in Morehead City. It ended up in Cape Verde, Africa, 280 days later. Swimming. That's all they do. They have to. They have to swim and they have to eat. So, but no one's really put the money into sailfish yet to figure out. And I think one of the reasons why is because the life expectancy of them, I don't think it's as high as a blue marlin. So for someone to stick a $5,000 tag on a sailfish that Johnny come lately up in Sebastian's going to kill to smoke, it's sad.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
When you're live baiting for sailfish, how much drag do you want on the reel
Light.
when you're just slow drifting everything?
Oh, when you
Well,
before
like
you get bit,
yes. How, you're
Just
not gonna know. You might not know before you get bit.
just above free spool.
Just above free speed.
Yeah, where you pull it off.
And count the 3 seconds.
3, 4. It's,
Yeah.
what you want to do is, it's hard to tell somebody how to hook a fish on a circle hook, right, Sandy?
Yeah.
It's all feel. When you do it right a couple times, you get it. But it's all about how fast the spool starts moving and the line's coming off the rod. And when you figure out when you got a good bite and you do it right a couple times, you think you got it figured out, and you don't have to figure it out. No, it's a feel thing. Circle hook fishing is definitely a feel thing. You can't tell somebody how to do it. You can try to teach them how to do it, but for instance, if you get bit, let it go. 3 or 4 seconds on live bait, and he's probably going to be there when you push the drag up tight. And then you don't want a lot of drag once you push it up tight. You want what? 4 pounds, 3 pounds, 4 pounds?
5 pounds.
You want it to be able to come off the spool. You don't want to pull the hook out of his mouth by any means. And you want to be able to enjoy it. I mean, if you got a big heavy rod and a little tiny sailfish, you got 8 pounds of drag on it, you're just going to skip them across the top, and it's not going to be that much fun. That's why it's so much fun catching them on spinning rods. Because you can cast to them. Spinning rod's easy. You can pick up a lot of line with a spinning rod real fast if you chase them on down. And but not a lot of drag. Yep.
Is this summertime phenomenon local to the Treasure Coast only, or is it the entire east coast of Florida? Or?
They're catching them in Palm Beach pretty good right now too. They don't really have much of it north of us, but I don't think there's a whole lot of effort. So you got to think about this. The amount of boats that fish on a given day between Fort Pierce and Jupiter compared to the amount of boats that fish on any given day between Fort Pierce and just say Canaveral, it's 1 to 10 probably. I mean, St. Lucie Inlet on a Saturday or Sunday, or Jupiter. Everybody who has a bay boat, flats boat, it doesn't matter what you have because you can go. It's calm, it's easy. So north of here, there might be a batch of fish up the road that we don't know about, and you could be 2 miles from them and not know unless you hit them right on the head. So to answer that question, I think it's probably more prevalent down here, but there's a lot of people fishing. That's another thing Joey and I were joking about in the truck. It's like, if you don't know where to go, look for the fleet, because they're probably going to be near them. If you're off Stewart and you see 10 boats in a straight line with kites up on the 6 mile or 8 mile reef, they're probably in a decent spot. And you don't have to kite fish. You can go right in there around them with live bait, you'll catch them.
Hey Joey, do you snell the hook both ways when you're kite and or boat trolling?
I do personally, it's because I like it. However, just doing a regular knot works honestly just as well. Sometimes bump trolling, I'll do a loop knot. That way it gives them just a little bit more action. But preferably I do a snell knot.
Yeah, if you're starting out sailfish and you gotta put your mess out, you're gonna bump troll or just, if you got any wind, you drift. Would you say a good place to start, if you hadn't caught them a lot, is just put the damn clicker on?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a great spot.
Too much, when the bite comes, if you got too much,
It's going to go away.
it goes away.
Yeah.
Put the clicker on.
Yep.
If you get a super aggressive bite and he gives you a little fuzzy line, well, oh well.
Yeah.
But
No, I
until-
agree.
It's like, you said feel, right?
Yeah.
Until you're good at golfing, you ain't good at it. Until you get in tennis, you ain't good at it, right? Same thing with hooking a sailfish. So start out safely with just a damn clicker.
Yeah.
And then work maybe.
Yeah, put it in free spool, and put the clicker on and wait for it to start buzzing. Yeah. If your bait's a little bit too big and he's pulling a little bit of line off, just barely maybe bump your drag a little bit to just where the line isn't falling off the spool when you're not getting bit, or until you get bit. So.
We were just talking, me and Jimmy's never done it, we were wondering if you can go with us.
I wish I could clone myself.
Just touch on your rod.
Yeah.
Class of rod real quick.
Yeah, man.
What you prefer, kite fishing versus bump trolling, probably the same setup.
So-
Probably same setup.
What do you use?
So, starting off conventional reel, this one's set up for kite fishing. So, I have a a metal ring here, so when you put,
Let me hold it.
so this is the kite reel. This electric kite reel, it's got 3 clips. They have all different size holes, and they have 3 different sized swivels on there. So on the bottom clip, it's got a larger hole. So once it comes out, the swivels, come through that one, and the very last one has a small hole. So as it goes, it passes through both these clips and then takes this one.
What it does is it separates your baits. So you have whether you have 1, 2, or 3 out, you're gonna have a short bait, a medium bait, and a long bait.
So once the kite actually gets out, these clips, once they go out, are 90 feet apart. So you have 90 feet of separation to go to them. And then, as I was saying, with this, you have a little metal eye that you actually attach to the clip. And once it goes, that sends it up.
Was your question more about the rod?
Technically, there's a class of rod, but this is really good to go through, because that was kind of brain-boggling trying to put my first
Yeah,
bait, so.
it's a little complicated in a way.
Is that on YouTube? Is there YouTube?
There's plenty of stuff
Yeah,
on YouTube.
that's what
for
you need to
catfish.
watch.
Yeah, I pretty much got that.
Yeah, it's
I was just curious
confusing.
what class rod.
Yeah.
But once you
So
get it, it's easy.
There's a 20 pound rod, 20-pound test.
Long rod, so.
The 6.6, relatively small, light tackle.
That's what I was after. Sometimes I was trying to use too heavy a gear too.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I prefer smaller. It's funner, more of a fight.
There's a lot of slack in it.
I like the high vis. I can see it. I have bad eyesight.
Yeah, 20-pound test is all you need for sailfish, by far. You don't even need that. I mean, you fish 16-pound, but 20 is probably the norm of what most guys that are doing are using. You got plenty of line. You're never gonna run out of line, that's for sure. So, yeah, that's everything. If anybody wants to check this thing out,
When you're stone trolling, how far behind the boat you set the bait?
put you. Oh, good. There you go.
You vary it. You can have a bait really long, one medium of that, short. It kind of, basically wherever. I mean, I like one long, medium, one right behind the boat.
You really can't have one too close, that's for
When
sure.
you say long, 100 feet, 200 feet, 150 feet?
From
Honestly,
here, maybe to the wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it just depends. If you think you need
Well,
to go farther,
just,
but
that gives somebody a little bit more of an idea.
Yeah, you want to put it as far out as you can put it in the sea condition that you're in to where it still can swim naturally. And it's not
Okay.
dragging on top. It's going to vary, whether it's windy, choppy.
How far away from the teaser do you put it?
The bait,
Yep.
you can put one right behind it. Just don't put it too close because it gets tangled up in that thing. It's a mess. Yeah, you can put one. You can put it. Yeah, you can put it 8, 10, 12 feet behind it, or put it on the other side or in the center. Put your closest bait in the center of the boat because you're gonna have your teaser off one side, and just put it right behind it. From here to. Your closest bait's probably going to be from here to maybe the wall, and your teaser's going to be where this gentleman in the black shirt sitting. Just far enough to where it doesn't get tangled. It's kind of the type of thing. It's so simple to do once you do it. Once you get out there, and you just got to kind of play with it and try it and see what works. Because they'll swim right up to the boat. I mean, they'll literally swim right up to the boat. If you ever want to see some really neat videos, Scotty Fawcett, Stewart, he's really into fly fishing for billfish right now. And he teases them to the boat, and then he stops the boat, and they catch them on fly. And these things will hang out around the boat for minutes and minutes. And like, you would think they would swim off. He's got fish swimming around the boat for 2-3 minutes because they're looking for whatever they just got taken away from them. And they'll have a guy that'll cast a bait without a hook. If they do start going away, they'll cast a bait out in front of them and they'll start skipping it just to get the fish fired up again. And then the guy with the fly rod will shoot a fly to him.
Cool.
But he's got a lot of videos on YouTube. It's off the chain charters. He specializes in that stuff.
Off the chain.
Off the chain. Scott Fawcett. Yep. Yes, sir.
You ever had like a mackerel, wahoo, dolphin, or something more aggressive, like actually attack the teaser, like take a chunk out of it or something?
Yeah,
Yeah, you'll come back and you'll have
pieces cut off.
2 inches left. Those are-
Yep.
Must not taste pretty good.
No. No, they'll eat the teasers, that's for sure. But it's a really, I mean, and if you do have a piece of wire, like if you're kite fishing, and you have a piece of wire out there, and you're sail fishing, your chances of catching a wahoo, a mackerel, or a dolphin are pretty high, because your presentation's going to be really good, and they're all living in the same spot, all of them. So that's like I say, oh, you know, we kind of joke around the marina, and they'll be like, "What are you fishing for today?" I'm fishing for everything. Fishing for what swims up to the boat. I want to catch billfish, but you know, odds are whatever swims around is going to eat the same bait that a sailfish is going to eat. So you're not taking yourself out of any game whatsoever. And you can also kind of put a bait down if you're drifting. You can bottom fish at the same time. You know, especially out Stewart with the mutton fishery they have down there now. You know, you just drift along with a bait on the bottom and 2 or 3 baits up top, and you come home with dinner and a show. You know. Yes, sir.
Just a comment and a question, but I've been fishing the teaser rig that you've had for a long time.
Yeah.
And, but for trolling, the magic combination for me is always a naked ballyhoo, literally about 10 feet in back of the teaser.
Oh yeah.
Is just, it seems to be outdo any other kind of
Yep.
thing that I do with that. I've gone through a lot of them because I've had a lot of bite-offs of the Mylar.
Yeah.
Come up and rip, especially wahoo.
Yeah, that's it's a good point. The sail fishing with a dredge like that, and the way we do it in the wintertime, we don't use that. We use a natural dredge. We use fish,
Right.
but I call them welfare fish
Yeah.
because they just sit behind that dredge until you take it away from them, and they don't even eat a swimming bait. You just drop a ballyhoo at the back of the boat and let it drift past that dredge. Leave the dredge there. Leave it sit right where it's at. Maybe pull it up a couple feet. Drift that bait right past that dredge, and he's going to peel off that dredge and eat the ballyhoo and go away. He's just waiting for something free. He's just chasing that thing, thinking he's going to get the whole dredge, but he's going to eat the dead one that swims by him. They want the easiest thing they can possibly get, especially in the
There's a
fall.
question when you talked about the titanium, is that the price of the titanium leaders? I mean, a couple weeks ago I was out, and I swear to God, I had a school of kingfish come through, and it just cleaned off 4 lines, lickety split, like that. They were all bit off.
Oh,
I turned around and put about a 12, 16-inch piece of titanium on each one.
Yeah.
I caught all them kingfish.
Yeah.
The next time around,
Yeah.
they didn't get any sailfish.
Yeah, with the mono,
Do you
they'll
think
bite through.
that matters if you've got a little titanium tip on it for the sailfish? Doesn't seem to bother the dolphin.
Yeah, I don't. It might cut your chances back a little bit with the sail fishing, but I don't think it's going to kill you.
Okay.
What I would do is go half and half. You know, if you're just out there fun fishing, you're not trying to break any records, do mono on one side and do titanium on the other. That way, if king mackerel swims in or wahoo swims in, he's gonna, if he eats the mono one, oh well. But he's probably gonna go over and eat the titanium one next. But you still have the mono ones out there for a sailfish. You know, kind of got to mix it up a little bit if you're trying to do a little mixed bag fishing. Yep.
Was that teaser on a rod, or you just hand line that out?
You could do both. I mean, it just depends. I mean, if you don't have a rod to put it on, you could get a piece of rope, you know, a small piece of rope, tie it to your cleat, and just, you know, pull it in as you need. Or
A lot of guys put them on their downriggers. If you have a downrigger on your boat for like king mackerel fishing, they'll put it on the downrigger. That way, it's kind of out of the way and easy to pull up. No more questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Five days, years ago, I fish out of the St. Lucie.
Yeah.
So I think you're familiar with that.
Oh yeah.
House of Refuge.
Uh-huh.
Used to be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Man, just go get it, load up with greenies, away you go. Then the hurricanes hit,
Yeah.
I guess they say that covered up the bottom, whatever it was I kept last summer, caught a bunch again. Did I get lucky or things changed?
I don't know. I haven't fished down there that much lately, but if I had to say, maybe the sand that was on top of the reef might have blown some of it blown out. And you know, the bait this weekend, I guess, was really good on the beach between the inlet and the power plant, I heard. And I was on North Beach on Saturday, just goofing around, and I didn't see any bait. And then somebody was in there in the afternoon and saw a bunch of bait. So it just depends on the
There's no
time.
rhyme or reason.
A lot of times that bait will, what it'll do on the beach is it'll, at night, it'll spread out and it'll bed down, and then it might come up early in the morning, or it might not, and then sometimes in the afternoon it'll start coming together. You know, all that bait will kind of come together. You'll start seeing some sandy spots in the water where the coming together as a big school, where they might have been, you know, spread out over a quarter mile or whatever it may be. But so I can't really answer your question about the House of Refuge thing, but I know that used to be a really good spot there, and like the black-faced condo down there, they call it. It's all black. That was a really good spot.
Well, hopefully it's coming back now, because that used to be a lot easier going out.
Yeah.
It was right there.
Yeah, that's like 10A here. 10A made it real easy, but hopefully that's coming back with everybody's help. Yeah.
I've been hearing this term called the ledge. If I go straight due east out of the inlet, will I hit that ledge?
Yeah, you'll hit a ledge. You'll hit a couple of them.
Is that the ledge everybody's talking about? Or?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, there's bottom and 65 foot, 60 foot. There's a ledge there. There's 75. There's the inshore side offshore bars, like 70 to 75 foot, and then you have the offshore bar, which is the 85 to 90, 95 foot.
Okay.
And it pretty much runs from just
Here
north
to
of
Jacksonville.
12, yeah, all the way up to Bethel Shoals. I mean, there's pretty much spotty bottom all through there, especially on the offshore side of it.
Thank you.
Yep. If I tried to get a chart, but they didn't have one. The number 36 chart was sold out. That's a really good. It's called the hotspot, I think. It's a laminated chart, and they sell them at the Brooks and Whites. But that is probably, for a paper chart, that's the best chart to kind of familiarize yourself with our area. It's got everything I've talked about. It's kind of labeled that way, and it's got all the wrecks on it. It's got it's number 36 though. If you want to check it out, you can go online, and it's called the hotspot. It's not the paper fold-up one that they sell at the tackle shops. It's a laminated one that's rolled up. It's really good. It's got a lot of numbers on it, a lot of good spots. You know, you can have all the numbers in the world. If you don't know how to fish them, it doesn't matter. Like, you hear these guys talk about their Loran books so great, but you know, it's they might bite here today, but they might not tomorrow. You got to kind of know. You got to kind of get you 10 spots and start fishing them religiously and learn when they're good. You know, what tide they're good, how much current they're good. It's when I used to bottom fish a lot. I mean, that's all I did for a long time, was grouper fish on the reef, and I probably only fished like 8 numbers throughout, from straight up from southeast of the inlet to the northeast grounds. I would fish the same 8 numbers every week, but I might fish this one this week, or I might skip at 3. You know, I'd look at them all because they're not always all good. You know, that's just how the ocean works. They got tails and there aren't any fences. You know, that's what we always say. And they got an IQ of 5 and they feed when they're hungry. That's a fish for you. Don't care what kind of fish it is. So, any more questions? No? If you guys want to come up here and check this stuff out, feel free. And if you got any more questions, want a little bit closer look, love to try to help y'all. Hopefully I was a little bit informative. I kind of